we will start creating our navigation. We see that we have this brand name, then we have two drop downs, a simple one and a long one, and then we have this search form. Right, let's go into our code editor. We already have Bootstrap installed. We can see our references here, and we have our photos here to the left. This page already have the title, blog, post, text. Before our navigation, we'll create a skip link for keyboard users or screen reader users where they can skip to the main content. First, in our href attribute, we write the ID of our main section, which we'll create later. So this is called main. Then we add some classes, SR only to only show this for screen readers, and SR only focusable to make this skip link focusable when the user uses the tab key. And we'll give it the text skip to main content. Now we'll create our navigation. We start with the nav tag and we give it some classes. The navbar is to create the navbar component and to control the breakpoint where it should collapse. We use the class navbar expand, and then our device prefix we'll use MD for medium. Then for the color theming we'll use the navbar light class together with the BG light, which is the background light. Alright, first we'll create our navbar brand as a link. So we add an anchor tag and give it the class navbar brand. We'll write the text block title. Now we'll create our toggle button to toggle the collapsible content when the user visits the page on a device that's medium size or smaller. We create the button tag with the type button and the class navbar toggler. To hook up the JavaScript functionality, we need to use some data attributes. The first one is data toggle with the value collapse, and the second one is data target with the value being the ID of the collapsible content, which we'll create in a moment. So we're going to name this navbar collapse. And then for accessibility, we add 3 more attributes. First, the area controls attribute, with the value being the ID from before, navbar collapse. The area expanded attribute, with the value being false, since this is not expanded at first. And then the area label attribute with the value being toggle navigation, so the screen reader users know what will happen if they activate this button. To provide an icon for regular users, we'll add this with a span tag and the class navbar toggler icon. Okay, now we want to create the collapsible content. So we create a div tag with the classes collapse and navbar collapse. We'll give it the ID that we used before, navbar collapse. Inside this, we now create an unordered list with the class navbar nav. Then we create a list item with the class nav item. And inside this, an anchor tag with the class nav link. We'll just copy this. Okay, the text for this first nav link will be home, and we'll also mark it as being the active one. Oh wait, we are not at home, so we will skip that. Okay, then we'll paste this in one more time, and now we'll create our first drop down. So we add the classes drop down and drop down SM to create a small one. Then on our anchor link, we add the class drop down toggle. We give this the ID block drop down and the role attribute with the value button. And for the JavaScript to work, we add the data toggle attribute with the value drop down. And for accessibility, the attributes area has pop up with the value true and area expanded with the value false. We give it the text block. After this, we'll create our drop-down menu with the div tag and the class drop-down menu. And for accessibility, the area labeled by attribute, the value block drop-down, which was what we used up here for the ID. Now we'll create our drop-down items. So we create an anchor tag with the value of our class being drop-down item, and we'll give it the text list. We'll also add the link block overview list. Now we'll copy this and change this to grid. Now we'll build our next drop down. To make it a little easier, we'll just copy this list item like so. And then we'll change the ID of this to Navbar drop down. And then the text to archive. Before our first drop-down item, we'll add a drop-down header. We do that with an H6 heading element and the class drop-down header. We give it the text 2017. First value will be December, and now I'll just create the rest of the month in the year, then separate it with a drop-down divider and copy all of this to create the month for 2016. Now I'll create the drop-down divider using a div tag with the class drop-down divider. And then I'll copy all of this, change the year to 2016. Okay, we will create our final list item with the class nav item, and then an anchor tag, the class nav link, and the text about. Now we only need to create our inline search form. So we create a form tag with the class form inline. Inside this we create an input with the type text, the name search, the class form control, the placeholder, the value search, and the area label attribute with the value search. So the type is text, so the device would know that it has to use the right keyboard, which is very relevant for a smartphone user, for example. The name attribute is used when you need to submit this to the server, so it will know what the ID of the input is. It doesn't use the ID attribute, it uses the name attribute. The class is to style it with Bootstrap. The placeholder is the hint text that the user sees. And now we create the submit button, which is a button with the type submit and the class bgn and bgn primary to make it have a primary color of blue, and then the text search. Alright, let's have a look at our navigation. First we can see that this collapses for devices of medium size and smaller, and the toggle button works. We can also see that we have two drop downs which have the content that we just created. Great.